Tonight we're going to start with Lesson 36, Module 3. I can multiply two-digit by two-digit numbers using four partial products. Okay, now we're moving on from that 0 in the ones and trying something a little bit harder. So let's really work hard and pay attention. In each of the two models pictured below, write the expressions that determine the area of each of the four smaller rectangles. So let's look at this carefully, and we see that in this grid right here, this matches this one. So usually when we make our area models, we're not going to have grids usually. We could if we wanted to by using graph paper, but our area models are going to look a little bit like this one. So over here, we're going to match it, and we're going to put a 3, and we're multiplying this by the 10, and this one over here 2, and then over here by 10. All right, so basically what our problem is this evening that we're focusing on is 12 times 13. So now over here, let's start solving our area model. 3 times 10, and we have 3 times 10, and then we're doing 3 times 2, 6, and then we'd have over here 10 times 2, and the last one is 10 times 10. So now if we take this information here and we actually put it into these area models, because we have 3 times 10 is 30, 3 times 2 is 6, 10 times 2 is 20, and 10 times 10 is 100. So now if we actually start putting this information and put them and list all of our partial products over here, we could actually do that. By doing 2 times 3, we would get 6. The next one, 10 times 3 is 30. And then the next one is 10 times 2, which is 20. And then our last one was 10 times 10 is 100. And make sure that we're always lining up our places. And now we have 4 partial products that we need to add. And in our ones, we have a 6. In our tens, we have a 5. And in our hundreds, we have 1. So this 12 times 13, the product of that would be 156. But over here, it's asking you for the distributive property. And we've been doing that. And in the distributive property, basically breaking up the 13 and the 12, just like we're doing here in the area models. And we're going to just put the numbers in these blanks, multiplying them, and then add them all up. See? That's basically doing the same thing here, adding up all of these. That's what we would do in distributive. And we can mix these numbers up as much as it doesn't really matter. There's no rule that we have to put the exact order. But we're over here. We're doing 3 times 2 to get 6. And I'm going to put a 2. Over here, we're doing 3. Excuse me. Let me just here, erase that. Over here, we're doing 3 times 10 to get 30. And then over here, we're doing 2 times 10, get 2. And our last one, we're doing 10 times 10. So now if we actually solve it, we have 6 plus 30 plus 20 plus 100. And if you look at this, look over here. Here's these partial products. They match these partial products. It's the same thing. And all of this equal would give us the product of 156. Guys, I know it's a lot of work and a lot of steps, but if you really take your time on it, you will master this. All right, with 17 times 34. So let's decompose this. 17, we're going to put 10 here and 7 up here. And on the top, we're going to put a 30, and we're going to put a 4. Okay, so now what we have to do is multiply these numbers and get the area model, get the area for each one of these boxes. All right, so the first one, let's focus on doing this one first, the smaller numbers first. 7 times 4, 7 times 4 is 28. And then we did 7 times 4, now let's do 7 times 30. 7 times 30 is 210. Okay, now let's, if we continue that, let's continue with this 4. 4 times 10 is 40. And then the last one. And in our last one, we're going to do 10 times 30. And 10 times 30 is 300. All right, so now what we have to do is that we have to start placing these partial products inside and solve this. Okay, so our first one, because we did 7 times 4 and we got 28, so we're going to put 28 on the first line. And if we continue with that, we're going to do 7 times 30, continue with the 7. 7 times 30, 210. Go to the next one, the bottom one. We do 10 times 4. 10 times 4 is 40. Be sure to line up your numbers appropriately. And then the last one's 10 times 30 is 300. So we have 4 partial products to solve, and in the ones we get an 8, in the tens we get a 7, and in the hundreds we get a 5. So the product of 34 times 17, the product is 578. So notice how I did this is we focused on the 7. 7 times 4, we got 28. And then if we continue on, 7 times 30, 210. And we continue with 10 times 4, 40. 10 times 30, 300. If you look over here, look, 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 30, it's not a 34, it's a 30, 210. And then over here, we'd got 10. This is not a 17 now, it's a 10 in place right there. So it's 10 times 4, got a 40. And the last one was 10 times 30 is 300. So basically, we are multiplying the standard algorithm by using the area model to help us get each one of those partial products. All right, next one, we're going to do 45 times 18. So it's going to be 18 times 45. And I'm going to set up and I'm going to use an area model to represent the following expression. So if I make my area model, remember I'm not the best at making these. Remember one side's going to be bigger than the other because it's a larger digit. And we're going to decompose 18, and over here is going to be our 10, and our ones is an 8. And on the other side, 45, the 40 is going to be on the bottom, and the 5 is going to be on the top. So now we have to multiply. And I'm going to start using 5 times 8. And 5 times 8 is 40. And if I continue with the 5, we've got 5 times 10. And 5 times 10 is 50. Continuing, we're going to start doing 40. Go to the bottom, 40 times 8. 40 times 8 is 320. And then finish it up with 40 times 10 is 400. Now what we have to do is we have to place these partial products into these vertically and solve it. Okay, so our first one that we have was 5 times 8. Now look over here, 5 times 8, and we're getting 40. And now we continue. Let's look over here. 5 times 10. Look over here. 5 times 10 is a 50. And then going on to our third product, we've got 8 times 40, or 40 times 8 is 320. Because if you look over here, 40 times 8. See how we're moving this on? Now let's do the last one. We're going to do 10 times 40. 40 times 10 will give us 400. Be sure to line up your ones, your tens, and your hundreds. And we add our partial products. There are no ones. There's 11 tens. And there are 8 hundreds. So our product to 18 times 45 is 810. All right, and the next one is 12 times 47. So I'm going to put 47 times 12. And we are going to try to visualize, but let's just practice making that area model. And remember, my bigger side is because it has a bigger digit, and there's my smaller side. All right, and forgive me my pathetic looking boxes here. And I have decomposed 40 and 7 because it was 47, and then 2 and a 10. Because we put the larger number down here and the smaller number up here, because that's the way it looks like over here. Because we're always going to start multiplying by that bottom right number, and that's what we're going to do right here. All right, so now let's start. We've got 2 times 7, or 7 times 2, and we've got 7 times 2, we get a 14. And now let's continue over here. We've got 2 times 40, because look, 2 times 40 is 80. And the next one, we're getting 7 times 10. 7 times 10 is 70. And then now let's finish it. 10 times 40. 10 times 40 is 400. Now this is a partial product. Here's a partial product. Here and here. And we have to take each one of these partial products and move them over. But let's do them in the correct order. Notice we have the first number, 2 times 7. 2 times 7, 14. We're going to put a 14. Moving on with multiplying by that 2. We're going 2 times 40. 2 times 40 is an 80. On to our third partial product. 10 times 7, 70. And if you look over here, 10 times 7. 10 times 7 is 70. And then our last one, our last partial product, is 10 times 40. 10 times 40 is 400. And we add up our partial products, and in the ones, we get a 4, and in the tens, we get a 16 group, and in the hundreds, we get a 5. So our product of 47 times 12 is 564. So if you notice, what all we did is we placed each one of our partial products in vertically and added them up. But each step that we're doing here also. So the area model really helps us multiply it vertically using that standard algorithm. Okay, I know this is a lot, but I hope that you're saying this to yourself. I choose to persevere. Don't give up. Keep trying. Draw an area model to represent the following expressions and record the partial products vertically and solve. Solve 45 times 19. Please bring in your area models and your partial products tomorrow in school. Now, try to visualize the area model and solve the following numerical using 4 partial products. But if that area model still helps, use it. But please bring in all your work tomorrow for 23 times 93. And your last one, 23 times 22. create an area model and solve your partial products, your 4 partial products, and please bring in your work to show me tomorrow. No matter how many mistakes you make or how slow you are in the progress, you're still way ahead of everyone who isn't trying. Have a wonderful night.